Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Alice and this is English with Alice B, where you can come to learn English in a clear and simple way without the stress. This is another episode of True Crime in Slow English from my playlist where I tell true crime stories. The point of this playlist is to give my students something else to listen to that isn't just grammar and vocabulary lessons. The point is to give them something maybe a little bit more interesting so they can stay entertained and actually enjoy the process of learning English. In a few moments, I'm going to show you the vocabulary bank. The vocabulary bank is full of useful words and phrases that I am going to use throughout this video. Feel free to pause, take notes, take screenshots. You may want to look at the words and the definitions before we continue the video, and then seeing them used in some context may help you understand them clearer. Today's vocabulary bank is a little longer than usual, but feel free, as always, to pause, to take screenshots, to take notes. We will see all of this vocabulary used in today's video. Don't forget, I also have a video on general vocabulary for understanding true crime that you can find right here. Today's story takes place in a small town near Toronto in Canada, a place called Markham. It's November 2010 and a panicked call is made to 911.
Dear, what? Some people broke into our house and took us all his money. Like, my parents yelling downstairs. Please send help. Ma'am, where are you? What? Avenue. Avenue Road. Yes. Can you spell the street name for me, please? Dad? No, you're calling us. Ma'am. Hello. Hello. Yes. Ma'am, I need to know your address. Avenue Road. Can you please spell? In Helen Avenue, my dad just went outside screaming. Ma'am, can you spell the street address for me, please? H-E-L-E-N. Someone broke in and I heard shots like pops. I don't know what's happening. I'm tied upstairs.
The caller sounds like a young woman. She's clearly terrified, and she tells the story of attackers breaking into her family home, stealing the money, tying her up, and shooting her parents. She is clearly scared, panicking, agitated. She sounds very emotional. She appears to be another victim of a violent home invasion. Her name is Jennifer Pan. Jennifer is a young woman. She's only 24 years old, and she's just been a witness to a horrific crime. Both of her parents have been shot. Unfortunately, her mother dies at the scene. Her injuries are that bad, and her father is in a very critical condition. He's taken straight to hospital, but it doesn't look like he's going to survive either. After a crime like this happens, obviously it's so important that the police get as much relevant information as possible as soon as possible. So Jennifer is brought into the police station for questioning. Of course, she is not brought in as a suspect, but as a key witness. She, at this point, is the only witness to this attack. During the initial interrogation, Jennifer tells the same story that she told over the phone.
I upstairs in my room, called it a night with the TV on, talking on the phone with a friend of mine. And then shortly after, my mom came home. I believe that was around 9:30 or so. She was rummaging downstairs. I didn't think anything of it. And then suddenly I just heard my mom calling for my dad to come down. And that's when I lowered the volume on my TV, and I could hear the voices weren't any voices I was very familiar with. And so I was scared and I couldn't move. I just sat in my room for a while. And then I thought I heard them all leave the top floor, and I peered out of my bedroom door. And a guy was there, and he came at me and had string in his hands and tied my arms back and said, "I have a gun behind your back. Do what I say. If you do what I say, then no one will get hurt. Where is the money? Show me where your money is."
3 men broke into her family home. They tied her up. They were looking for money, and they shot at both of her parents.
The last things I heard them say was, "You lied. You lied to us. You lied to us." And then I heard two pops. My mom screamed. I yelled out for her, and a couple more pops.
Clearly, Jennifer is scared. She's been through this traumatic event. She's potentially lost both of her parents. We know she lost at least her mother. At this stage, it looks like she may also lose her father. She seems very emotional about the whole thing, naturally. But there's something strange about this story. The family, the Pans, made up of Jennifer, her brother Felix, and her parents, Han Pan and Bik Pan, are a relatively normal immigrant family from Vietnam, not associated in any known criminals or any gangs. Violent crimes of this nature don't really happen in places like this. This seems to be an attack without a clear motive, without a clear reason. It's quite random, without logic, without sense, without a pattern. And this is terrifying. If an attack like this can happen to the Pans, well, it could happen to anybody. Nobody is safe. So it's super important that the police find these attackers as soon as possible before this happens to potentially another family. At this point, Jennifer is our only point of information. She's our only key. So the police, during the interrogation, need to ask Jennifer questions about herself, her life, her family's life, to understand if there's any reason that her family may have been a target.
Is there any reason to suspect or anything that's happened in the recent weeks leading up that would have you guys be a target of some type of incident like this?
We live a straightforward, kind of almost routine life.
What, in your opinion, would cause people to target your house to think there was a large quantity of money?
I'm not sure.
Now, you say your mom drives a Lexus.
It could be because of the aesthetics, yes.
What about your dad?
He drives a Mercedes and he loves that baby.
Is that right? So your mom drives a Lexus, your dad drives a Mercedes.
So let's begin with the family background. Her parents were immigrants from Vietnam, which means that Jennifer and Felix were the first generation to be born in Canada. They came to Canada after the Vietnam War to make a new life for themselves. And by all accounts, it was a very successful story. They were able to work hard and buy a house in this affluent area, and they had two children who they were planning to send to university. Jennifer's father worked in the automotive industry, and her mother worked from home so she could take care of the house and the children. The neighborhood, as I've said, was a very nice area, very comfortable, affluent. And to friends and neighbors, the Pan family seemed successful. They weren't flashy. So, to be flashy means to wear your money, to wear extravagant clothes, big jewelry, to drive big cars. The Pans weren't like that. They were very comfortable, but they were modest. It seemed like the perfect, happy family. But inside the home, life was very strict. So during the interrogation with the police, Jennifer starts to open up about her life at home, the family dynamic, the situation, how everybody was with each other. So the police start to understand a little more about the Hans. Jennifer's parents had very high expectations of her and, of course, her brother Felix. They were so called tiger parents. So, what is a tiger parent? Tiger parents are strict, authoritative parents who typically push their children to achieve high grades, to go to top universities, to have the best careers. There's also the idea that the achievements of the child are a reflection on the entire family. So the pressure is huge. You're not just representing yourself, but you're representing your siblings, your parents, your grandparents. Children are always pushed to excel in extracurricular activities as well. This can include, playing a musical instrument at the top level in the best orchestra, playing sports and competing at Olympic level. Jennifer, for example, was pushed into piano, and she had taken lessons from the age of 4. She was described as an excellent pianist. Her parents would often enter her into competitions. She was very successful, and a lot of times she would come first place. She also trained as a figure skater and actually had ambitions to compete at Olympic level. But these dreams were shot down when she suffered a severe injury to the knee, and actually she had to give up the sport entirely. So, from a young age, Jennifer was either taking piano lessons, practicing figure skating, or studying. She had very little time for her social life. Her parents would pick her up from school every day and take her straight to these piano lessons or take her straight to her skating practice, and then they would take her straight home. She was closely supervised from a young age. Jennifer was not allowed to date while she was in high school. She was not allowed to attend any parties. She wasn't even allowed to attend the high school prom. Prom is the big dance that is really typical in America when you finish high school. Jennifer wasn't allowed to attend that. Anything like parties, like a relationship, like boys, it was all seen as a distraction from her studies. In fact, by the age of 22, Jennifer had never been to a nightclub. She had never been to a party. She had never been to another friend's house. And she had never been on a holiday that wasn't with her family. But this was a situation that she was surviving in. And in fact, her parents thought that she was the perfect daughter. As she grew older, things began to change. At around age 14, 15, Jennifer started to struggle and her grades began to slip. She wasn't as strong academically as her parents expected or as they had hoped. But she couldn't face telling them. Going home and telling your parents that your grades are falling, that you're starting to fail some classes, especially when they're these authoritative figures, is quite a scary thing. So Jennifer began to lie. At first, her lies were small. She would edit her report cards. She would lie about the grades that she got in high school. But then her lies became bigger and bigger. In fact, she lied about graduating from high school, and she even paid $500 for a fake diploma to demonstrate to her parents. Because she hadn't passed certain courses at high school, she wasn't accepted into university. But she lied to her parents about this too. She told her parents that she had been accepted into university and that she was studying pharmacy. But of course, none of this was true. Jennifer was not studying pharmacy. She was not even attending a course.
How is your home life with the you're not now not living up to his expectations?
He
You
didn't know. I lied to him
What did you lie to him? What did you tell him?
that I was going to school.
You would have had bills for school. How is that coming up? How are these bills being paid for university that you weren't going to?
I was working at Eastside Mario's and I took care of myself.
So
like financially, my father was never, he never took hand in bills. So he didn't know anything about bills.
Did your mom know that you weren't going to university?
No.
So both your parents thought you had gone to university.
Yes.
Okay. And how long did they still to this point in time think that you had gone to university for pharmacy for sciences?
Yes.
And how did you feel about that? How did you feel about having to lie to your parents?
I felt guilty, but every time I tried to bring it up, there was just so much expectation.
Jennifer also claimed that she was doing some part time work, some voluntary work at a local hospital. But of course, this wasn't true either. Every morning, she would leave the house with a bag with books and notebooks, pretending that she was going to work or pretending that she was going to university, when in reality, she would just spend time with friends. She would go to her actual job, which was something part time as a waitress, or she was teaching piano sometimes, or she would be spending time with her boyfriend. Yes, Jennifer had a boyfriend.
Do you have a boyfriend?
I had a boyfriend, but no, I don't have.
What was your boyfriend's name?
Daniel
Daniel what?
Wong.
Tell me about your relationship with you and Daniel.
It was a really tough one. Um, we went to high school together. He helped me through a really difficult time in high school.
So, for a long time, Jennifer was living this double life. So, who is this boyfriend? Jennifer met Daniel Wong while she was in high school. They met while playing in the high school band. And it seems that Jennifer really fell in love with this Daniel. She feels a really strong connection to him. She would later describe situations where Daniel was there for her, she was there for him. He comforted her a lot, especially with this clearly uncomfortable situation that she was having at home. But Jennifer, of course, is not allowed to have a relationship. This is all information that she gives to the police. She was not allowed to have any relationship. It wasn't just Daniel, it was anyone. But the parents especially did not approve of Daniel.
I didn't really get to see him much.
Let's talk about that. Why didn't you get the chance to see him much?
I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend.
And that was when you were 18.
I was 17.
And so, who was against you having a boyfriend?
My father.
Your father?
Daniel worked in a pizza restaurant and he was, in fact, a small time drug dealer. He used to sell marijuana around Markham. So, for many parents, the approval of Daniel would be very difficult to attain. But imagine parents like Jennifer's who already have these impossibly high standards for her. Eventually, her parents understand that she was dating Daniel, and her parents tell her that she is forbidden. So she is banned, she is not allowed to see him anymore. So, what happens if you tell a teenager to stop speaking to someone or to stop doing anything? They will find a way to do it in secret. And that's what she continues to do. She continues to have contact with Daniel and to see him secretly.
Once in a while, I'd go and skip class and go see him.
So you were dating him essentially without your parents' knowledge and consent.
Yes.
Well, how do you maintain this relationship with Daniel?
I'd bus down to see him, or my parents would drive me down to Toronto, and they thought I was going to school, but I'd go see him and I'd come back.
What school did they think you're going to?
Ryerson.
So, this whole situation, Jennifer lying about university, lying about work, hiding Daniel, this whole situation lasted for 4 years. She was lying to her parents for 4 years. And eventually they became suspicious. They had never seen Jennifer in a uniform from the hospital, and they had never seen an ID card. So, of course, when you work in any kind of health clinic, or when you work anywhere really, you're often given an ID card to enter the building. It's for security. She didn't have any of that, and her excuses were something along the lines of, "Oh, I'm a volunteer, so I don't need one," or "When I graduate from university, that's when they will give me one." Her parents didn't buy it, so one day her father says, "Here, I'm going to drive you to the hospital." So this is a very uncomfortable journey. Of course, Jennifer's panicking. She doesn't actually work at the hospital. And she tells him, "You're not allowed to park. So I'll just jump out of the car and I will go inside." And she walks into the hospital. Her father, of course, is determined to find out the truth. So he does park. He goes inside the hospital and he asks to see Jennifer Pan. He is, of course, told that there is no Jennifer Pan working here at this hospital. So later that day, when Jennifer returns home, her parents confront her, and she has no other option but to confess she was lying. She had been lying this whole time about her studies and about where she worked. So for 4 years, Jennifer had been lying to them. We can imagine how furious her parents were. And the already strict and limited life that she had was even more controlled. It was also around this same time that her parents discovered that she was still seeing Daniel.
And how do they find out?
my mother saw him dropping me off at Pacific Mall where they come to pick me up.
And how did that go over?
Not well.
What kind of judgment did your father pass on him?
He blamed my lying and even racial profiling on him.
And what does that mean? I don't know about the racial profile.
He is half Filipino, half Chinese,
Yes.
and my father associated him with Filipino and said that, he wasn't a good match for me. He wasn't going anywhere in life, and that he wouldn't be able to support a family.
So her parents decide to give Jennifer an ultimatum. You can live whatever life you want. You can do what you want, have any job that you want. You can pursue any romantic relationship that you want, but we will disown you. So we are not your family anymore. You won't hear from us again. Or you stay in the family, you stay in this house, but you follow our rules. You do not see Daniel again, and you do pursue some kind of education, some kind of higher education. So Jennifer chooses her family. So at this point, Jennifer is not allowed to go out anywhere freely. When she has piano practice, her parents take her and they pick her up. She comes straight home. If she needs to go anywhere, it's her dad who will take her. Her internet access is heavily monitored. She's not allowed to use the internet without the supervision of a parent. Her parents regularly check her phone. She feels imprisoned. She feels trapped. She's clearly not living a free life like a young woman in her 20s should. And of course, her relationship with Daniel became even more secret. She never stopped speaking to Daniel, but she has to wait for specific times of the day. She has to use a second SIM card. Eventually, Daniel gets tired of this situation. He wants to pursue a relationship. He wants to be in a relationship where he can be with someone freely and openly and without all these restrictions, without all of these rules. So Daniel eventually ends things with Jennifer, and later he starts dating someone else. So this was really hard for Jennifer because she had been involved with Daniel at this point for around 6 years. Her situation at home is clearly only getting more difficult for her. And now she's lost kind of her only escape from this, someone that she really loves and really cares about, and is even described as being obsessive about him. So when he ends things with her and when he eventually moves on and meets someone, this is really difficult for Jennifer to deal with. She feels as if she has lost access to everything. So, this is all information that Jennifer gives to the police. And so they start to have a better understanding of the dynamic at home, the situation at home, and they start to see that, hmm, maybe there's a motive here. Maybe there's a reason that Jennifer wanted her parents to disappear. So they start to become suspicious, and there's also a few inconsistencies with Jennifer's story. So let's go back to the night of the attacks, November 8th, 2010. Jennifer calls 911 and she is frantically screaming down the phone that people have broken into her house and that she heard gunshots. She says that she has been tied up and she's separate from her parents. The police obviously arrive on the scene. Her parents are taken to the hospital. But when the police arrive at the Pan house, and obviously they have to investigate, it's a crime scene, they find large amounts of cash, expensive jewelry, the keys to the cars, a Lexus and a Mercedes, are still outside. There's some very valuable things in the house that weren't taken. If this was a robbery, why hadn't they taken the cash? Why hadn't they taken this jewelry? A second question that they had was, well, if you were tied up, how did you make the 911 call? And in fact, Jennifer is asked to demonstrate this in an interrogation. She's asked to show how she made that 911 call if her hands were bound and behind her back.
I need to mechanically show how I can get access to my phone, okay? Because that's obviously very relevant. We know you made the phone call, But questions are going to obviously raise is that if my hands are bound and I'm against the railing, how do I talk to a 911 operator? Okay, so clinically, this is now a clinical demonstration. Just stand up, focus in on how you did it. And I want you to stick that in your waistband as an example. Okay, so take your sweater off because this will be a very smooth, very quick thing. It's a one-time demonstration. I'm not going to ask you to repeat it, but I need to go through it. Okay, so just take your sweater off. Stand up and turn around. Put this in the side that you believe it was in. Great. Turn around so that you're looking away from me. You're looking exactly like now. Here is where the banister is. Put your hands back behind your back, exactly how you remember they were. Okay. Now, are you restrained from movement? How far can you move your hands from the banister?
They tied my upper arm
Yes.
around the banister,
Yes.
but my hands were bound together.
So your hands bound together, and this is the arm that's the strings wrapped around against the banister?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now how can you get to the phone? And how do you make the phone call? 911.
Mm-hmm.
And do you talk down like that?
Yes, I'm yelling at the phone like this.
And how can you hear?
I turned the volume on max.
Yes? So that's exactly the way that you're talking to her against the railing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good enough.
And finally, why did Jennifer survive? Why would they leave a witness? Why would they steal and kill two people and leave a third witness unharmed? This just didn't make sense to the police. So they were suspicious, but at this point, there isn't enough evidence to arrest, well, anybody. Then we have a very important plot twist in this story. Jennifer's father wakes up. If you remember, he was rushed to hospital on the night of the attacks. He had been shot in the face, so through the eye, down the throat canal, and through the back of the neck. He had been shot in the face. He was rushed to hospital. Obviously, he was put into a medical coma, but his injuries were so severe, the doctors weren't sure he was going to survive. But he does. He wakes up. The police have another witness. And when he speaks to the investigators, he tells the police a very different story. He tells the police Jennifer was not tied up in the way that she claims. She seemed calm during the attack, and she was even speaking to the attackers. She was friendly with them. It was as if she knew them. This immediately raised suspicion and is very important information for the police. So from this moment, Jennifer is no longer considered a victim, but a potential suspect. Once Jennifer becomes a suspect, the police start to analyze her phone records. And this is where important evidence is found. Investigators discovered that Jennifer had been in frequent contact with Daniel in the months and weeks leading up to the attack. Investigators also did a check on Daniel's phone and they found out that he had been in contact with known criminals in the weeks before the attack. There was a particular contact, someone who went by the name of Homeboy, who they were talking with about getting the deal done, getting it finished, and a huge payout, in fact, of $10,000. So police traced the calls and the messages, and they found three people connected to the attack: Lenford Crawford, David Milvaganam, and Eric Sean Carty. The messages revealed that Jennifer had actually been speaking with them and coordinating with them before the attack. One message sent shortly before the shootings said, "Game time." The police were also able to use cell phone tracking to find all of these phones were in the same area near the Pan household on the night of the attack. So this strongly suggests that the crime had been planned in advance. So Jennifer is brought in for a third interrogation. They want to confront her themselves. So she's asked again about her family dynamic, the expectations from her parents, any bad feelings that she may have had because of this. And finally, the detective confronts Jennifer with the evidence. They questioned her about the phone records, the inconsistencies in her story, and they tell her the testimony from her father.
And at this point, Jennifer, I know that you've not been truthful with the police, okay? You've not told us everything that you know purposely, okay? And that you've left information out, okay? There's a number of inconsistencies in what you've told the police, okay? One of the things you have to remember is that your dad was there, okay? And your dad had a front row seat to all of this. The problem is that your story, what you're telling, is not truthful, okay? And we have to clear this up, okay? Your rendition of what happened, one, a lot of events you say that happened never did, okay? A lot of things that you told the police happened never happened, okay? They never happened in the sequence that you've told.
So the police understand and they put together the following story. Jennifer is clearly unhappy at home. She is heavily controlled, heavily supervised. She has no freedom. She knows Daniel, who is a small time criminal, a small drug dealer, and she reaches out for help. She asks him if he knows anybody who could help her with her situation. Daniel had some contacts. He knew some people who might be willing to help, who might be able to help. And like this, they started to formulate a plan. They would hire men to enter the house and to make it look like a home invasion, so a robbery. They would kill both of Jennifer's parents. Jennifer would look like a victim, and she also believed that she stood to inherit money, of course, from her parents. She was expecting something around the value of $500,000. She would share this money with Daniel, and she would pay the attackers $10,000 for the job. Jennifer, at this point, there's not much that she can say now. You know, the phone records are there, the phone tracking is there, the evidence is all there. So Jennifer confesses, okay, yes, I was in contact with them before the attack. I had arranged for this to happen, but they were supposed to kill me. I had arranged for this to happen, but I had asked them to kill me. This was a suicide plot.
They were supposed to take you. What? Okay. So they were supposed to take the whole family out? No, just me. What went wrong? I don't know. So why did it happen this way then? I don't know.
She was so unhappy with her life that they were supposed to take her. The attackers just got the wrong victims. Investigators, of course, did not believe this. This was a final attempt. This was another lie on top of the thousands of lies that Jennifer has already told. But the investigators do not believe her. This is not what the evidence shows. And on November 22, Jennifer is officially arrested. She and Daniel and the three attackers, they are all charged with conspiracy to murder, murder, and attempted murder. The trial began a few years later in March of 2014, and it lasted a total of 10 months. And the jury was shown all the evidence, the phone records, the tracking of mobile device movements, and the over 100 messages that were sent between Jennifer and Daniel the 6 hours before the attacks. And there were also some witnesses, including a statement from Jennifer's father himself. They also described Jennifer's obsession with her ex, what her family life was like. They provided a motive, the reason why Jennifer may have wanted to carry out an attack like this. Everything was detailed during the trial. And after months of testimony, after months of evidence, the jury finally decides Jennifer, Daniel, and their accomplices were all found guilty They were convicted and sentenced to 25 years to life imprisonment. Han, Jennifer's father, and her brother Felix requested a restraining order against Jennifer, which was granted by the court. So she is not allowed now or ever to see her family, to contact them, to anything. She is not allowed to contact her family at all. She is also banned from ever contacting Daniel. Today, this story remains one of the most shocking cases in Canadian criminal history. After this case, a lot of conversations and discussions were had about this style of parenting, this kind of pressure that children face. But of course, these tiger parents, whatever pressure Jennifer felt, this was not an excuse at all to do what she did. I believe what Jennifer did was evil. She had the choice to leave. Her parents told her, "You can leave. You can do whatever you want with your life." I know that it wasn't easy. It couldn't have been easy to imagine leaving and starting your whole new life and finding somewhere to live. But she was 24 years old. People do it. It seemed she wanted the comfortable life, the money that her parents provided, but just without her parents being there. So that's all the information I have for the case of today. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Were Jennifer's actions at all justified? Do you believe that she's evil and that there was another way out? It's a very, very difficult conversation, but I'm looking forward to seeing some of your ideas. Let me know what you think. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. I will be making videos like this for my true crime playlist, so keep an eye out for the next episodes. Thanks again for spending this time with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.